Morning and welcome to a very surprisingly dry Cardiff. Cardiff is in Wales and Wales is in the United Kingdom if you're from overseas, where it always rains. Anyway, I'm having a walk around a churchyard, which is very pretty. I wanted to talk about AI for professional service firms, and I wanted to get you to think about it slightly differently. So a lot of inquiries I'm getting from founders, CEOs, about the potential use of AI in their firms is typically on three things. Number one, can it write proposals for us, or reports or presentations or whatever? Number two, can it look at our data and find quicker and better analyses that we might do ourselves? In other words, replacing the role of junior consultants. And number three, can it manage our knowledge better? Can it recall, store, and share our knowledge more effectively? Now, all of those things very important and very have a lot of potential to really transform professional service firms and a lot of other firms in the next few years. However, what I wanted to talk about was a fourth thing that is actually quite fundamental to AI, but people aren't really thinking about it. Now, let me illustrate this through a recent experiment where they got subjects, people, to look at pictures of animals and various other things, and then MRI'd those people's heads. So did a scan of people's brains to see what was happening inside people's heads when they were looking at different things. And then they got AI to look at the scans and look at the pictures. And the AI learnt what patterns in people's brains correlated to certain pictures. And then they got rid of the MR, they got rid of the pictures altogether and simply gave the AI scans and asked the AI what pictures are people looking at. And it predicted them very accurately. It could tell if someone was looking at a giraffe or an elephant or a cat or a building or whatever. So scary but interesting. But this is my point, is that you can train AI to predict certain things that are important to an individual, a firm, a client. So let's take an example that you could use internally or externally. Let's think about when people are most productive. So we all know when people are super productive. When you're productive, it might be a morning thing, might be a night thing, I don't know, that you're busy, you're working hard, you're thinking very well, etc. Now, what data could be used to train the AI to find out when you are going to be most productive? Well, it could be keystrokes, it could be the websites you visit, it could be the amount of work that is submitted, it could be the amount of time that you don't spend on social media, and all the rest of it. So the AI would be quite easily capable of correlating learning what actions are when you're more productive and when you're less productive. And eventually you could take the productivity filter away and simply get the AI to know when you were being more productive simply by your keystrokes or whatever. The same could work with innovation. The same could work with dissatisfaction at work. The same might be able to work with predicting when people are going to leave. My point is that this is a fourth set of very important capabilities of AI, which is the ability to take two related sets of data and then drop one of them and use one of those sets of data to predict when someone's going to be most creative, or when someone's going to leave, or when someone's going to be most productive. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be about people. It could be about supply chains. It could be about successful strategies. It could be mergers and acquisitions. The key thing here is having sufficient data to feed into the machine. So we all know data is important, but it struck me recently that how much data is wasted in professional service firms. And this is this is verbal data. So if you imagine all of those phone calls, all of those meetings, all of those client Zooms, all of those team meetings you have, this is all really important data where expertise is articulated, learnt, disseminated, questions, huge amount of Q&A in face-to-face activity. So I'm telling all of my clients now to record as much as they can of their meetings, of their Zooms, of their interactions, obviously within the ethical and legal frameworks that are available, and obviously without pissing off clients too much. But those Q&A, that question and answer that you get in every meeting, every interaction, every sales call or whatever, that data is gold dust, and it can be learnt quite quickly. And okay, so you might not know at this moment exactly what you're going to be using that data for, but it's better to start capturing it now, rather than think in 5 years' time, if only we'd had 5 years of this data, we could have produced something. So that's the first insight I'd like to give you. Start recording stuff. The second insight is the extent to which, so I deal primarily with boutique consultancies around growth. The second insight is the extent to which partnerships are going to be necessary for boutiques to make the most of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, as you know, requires a vast amount of data to learn. ChatGPT-4 I think has had 2 trillion data points that it's learnt from, and that you don't need that amount, but obviously GPT-4 is pretty incredible in terms of what it can do. But a small consultancy by itself isn't going to have sufficient data for an AI to learn. Probably isn't going to have enough sufficient data of its own. It might have vast amounts of client data, but you don't necessarily want to be releasing that to algorithms that are connected to the internet. I'm predicting, my predictions are terrible. I got Trump wrong, I got Brexit wrong, I got all types of things wrong, but I am predicting that boutique consultancies, to make the most of AI, are going to require to club together in terms of their data. So if you want to know what a good proposal or a good sales call or a client productivity or whatever is going to look like, you're going to need to combine some of your data, and you can do that in safe storage. It doesn't need to be connected to the outside world at all, so that the algorithms can learn about it. So that's a prediction from me. I don't know if it will happen, because obviously what should happen very often gets kiboshed by political, economic, social factors, whatever. Anyway,